I didn't think I would ever have children. I had two surprise babies that changed my life in different ways. Being a mother has made me a better leader. It also forced me to rely on other people. And I wanted to share how that has improved me as a leader. We're going to take a little bit of a different direction today. Usually on my channel, I'm talking about employee benefits and HR and all sorts of nerdy insurance stuff. And today I'm going to bring in something a little bit more personal. I am a mom, and I believe that being a mom has made me a better leader. I have been reflecting on how being a mother has made me a better leader and really how much I've changed since I've become a mom. I've done videos in the past about my midlife crisis as a mom, my identity crisis that I went through. It was not easy for me. I was a person that thought I would never become a mother, and I was dedicated to my career and having fun and pursuing other things. I had two surprise babies that changed my life in different ways. I have a little girl and a little boy, and I wanted to share how that has improved me as a leader and actually improved my skills and my ability to lead other people in what I do. So, like I said in the beginning, I didn't think I would ever have children. And one of the major things that having kids taught me is seeing how other people learn and seeing the learning process over and over again. It also forced me to rely on other people. I have a tendency to always want to do everything and take on more tasks. And part of it is because I think I do a really good job, and I am not sure if somebody else is going to do as good of a job. It's going to end up saving me time in the long run, because what if this other person messes it up and then I have to go back and fix it anyway? So all these things that I've battled over the years in handing over tasks that are required for me to be what I need to be and do what I need to do, that has been a long road. And it has had to change dramatically once I had children. I was obviously not able to work for a certain amount of time. I do have to admit, I always look at my phone. I don't think a day went by without me checking my emails, even when I was on maternity leave, because I do enjoy it. I enjoy working. I like helping people, and I like being of service. And in what we do, we're dealing with health insurance, which is an extremely personal topic. If something goes wrong or somebody needs help, it can cause a lot of stress. If an employee can't get in to see a doctor, or if something isn't in a system correctly and they're not able to verify coverage, all these things can pop up that are very urgent. Point is, handing things off was always hard for me, and getting pregnant and having babies forced me to hand off a lot of things because I physically wasn't able to do everything that I had done before, at least for a short period of time. And it shows up in different ways. First, when you're pregnant, obviously you go through labor, and me thinking I'm superwoman and, oh, it's not going to affect me that much. And just always thinking that it's going to be different for me for some stupid reason. I didn't say I'm the smartest person in the room. I just thought I didn't think it'd be easy, but thought I'd be able to walk and not have to go up the stairs walking sideways and going to the bathroom and all these things. It's just totally humbling. And I don't know what type of hubris I had before and what all that was about, but I have certainly changed from that opinion after experiencing it. So that really forced me to ask for help and rely on other people. Also, choosing who I spend my time with, I have become even more selective My husband thinks I'm perhaps a bit of a loner, even though I am very friendly and I have a lot of acquaintances. If anybody's ever been in a gym with me, I act like the mayor. I wave at everybody, say hi, and smile and try to be as polite as possible out in public. That's just how I like to be. Originally, I wasn't always like that. When I was younger, didn't do that. I wanted to hide. I didn't want to stand out in public. And so I would avoid making eye contact with people or engaging in conversations. Then I came to a point where I thought I hated other people and I thought other people were mean and bad, just had that negative perspective. And then I decided to turn it around on myself and ask, is it the people or is it the image that you're putting out? Are you someone that someone else is going to be nice to? Decided to do an experiment and smile, just smile. And it was so uncomfortable at first, just like walking into a room and smiling just because. I'm sure it looked fake and ridiculous. And some of my smiles, even to this day, look fake and ridiculous. And I'm sure all sorts of people take me all sorts of different ways and maybe don't even always know what to think of me because I can be like too much or too loud or say the wrong thing. I say stupid things all the time trying to be funny. And that comes out in public, certainly now, but it's taken quite a bit of practice. And I had to consciously think of it and consciously say, is it me or is it the people? And now, because I've been so consistent in that way, and I've learned how to interact with a lot of different types of people, that's one of the things when you go around smiling and saying hi to people, you end up in these small talk little conversations. And I think it's great practice to interact with people and understand what people are thinking about. Now I can tell the difference between different cities and different interactions. Some areas are more antisocial than others, and some areas find me way more bizarre than other areas. It's also taught me to find skills in other people. When I first started, I lacked a ton of skills, but as I gain more skills, I'm able to recognize other people's potential more, choosing who to pour that into, who to share time with. It's a very important skill to be able to recognize other skills. I've done so with my kids too. You want to see, okay, does this one want to be more academic? Do they like reading? How do they learn? What interests them? Because in order to teach, you do have to find something that interests that person about that topic and dive into that part and try to help them learn more and follow that interest and encourage them to do that. That's certainly been something that I've noticed about being a mom, and that I believe I've gained a better understanding of that. Being a better teacher, I'm not the most patient person on the planet, and I lose my patience every day with my children. Tested my patience, and it is a practice, and I lose my shit all the time. I'm not perfect. I curse, I swear. My kids know that there are certain words that are mommy words, and there are certain words that they are not supposed to say. I'm not of the type to shelter my children from language as much, maybe other than like adult interaction only material, that sort of stuff. Of course, I shelter them from the news and wars. We might talk about history and why those things come up when you talk to your kids and you read books. We've read all sorts of books, and there's always mentions of how people used to live and why they were in certain situations, and those conversations have come up. But I learned that positive reinforcement is very beneficial. I don't know how it's going to be with my second one. I've seen and heard, I'm not a study reader as much as I used to be, but I've heard people say that positive reinforcement works better than negative reinforcement. I have tried it with both of my children, and I find it to be a wonderful tool. I do think about dog training. when I go down this road, because I don't know if you've ever looked into dog training, but there's all these different little cults within dog training community on how to best train a dog. And it's almost like getting into the diet space. People are very religious, dug into their ways, and emotional about dog training, much like they are about diet, nutrition, and health. There's the positive reinforcement camp, the Caesar Moulin camp, the old school dog biting, aggressive dog guys, and every area in between. They all have strengths and weaknesses. Caesar Moulin understands dog psychology so well. And Beckman dog training, if you need to train a dog, look up Beckman. I don't remember the name of his channel, but he does what Caesar Moulin does with understanding dog psychology, but he also really understands human psychology. So the thing about Caesar is that he was revolutionary in explaining dog psychology to people in a very simple way. However, Beckman, I believe, has taken it to the next level. He understands dog psychology and knows how to explain it to humans, even better than Caesar did. Caesar Moulin's probably the best dog trainer of all time. No one's going to take anything away from him. I'm just saying it's like a different way of doing it, and it's really cool and a little bit different. There's this whole war between the positive reinforcement camp and dog trainers that use any negative reinforcement. There are positive reinforcement people that say zero negative reinforcement. I'm not saying don't ever punish your kid. I'm not even here to give parental advice. I'm just saying what I do is I don't say I'm never going to punish my kid. I do timeouts. I do all that. I'm not huge into spanking. The only time I have spanked is if they run into the street when I'm like, no, I grab them and they run into a dangerous situation. I'll grab them, swat them on the butt and be like, no, serious. If they could get hurt and die, it's something that I'm telling them not to do is usually when I'm like a little swatty poo, but that's it. I find for me, the tendency with children was to do negative reinforcement. I was naturally doing positive reinforcement too, but I wasn't conscious of it until I started noticing it. And I go, okay, I don't think that's useful. I would say some negative reinforcing statement or a negative statement. That's not useful. Let's reframe that and maybe we'll get a better result with the kid and maybe they won't have the meltdown. I'm constantly, as a mom, getting feedback from these little humans, and it forces me to be very mindful of what comes in my mouth. And of course, I only have so many hours in the day where I am that way. After about 7 o'clock at night, it is out the window. But I even tell my daughter that. I'm like, remember, after 7, mommy, daddy are basically useless. And we're going to just be a little short or want to sit down and not want to play anymore. So I do explain all that to her. Time will tell. But she's 8 right now. Being a better teacher. Also, when I got pregnant, I learned to write things out step by step. I originally did it for myself to plan out and say, okay, a year from now, when I'm coming back from maternity leave, what is that going to look like? What has to be done between now and then? And I would write it out in a very systematic way. Luckily, what I do is a service-based business. It's brokerage for employers who are looking for health insurance and employee benefits for their employees. And I broker that, and there's a series of processes every single year, and they're pretty similar. There's general categories that need to be done in each step of the process. We have Asana, but back then it was all spreadsheets, Excel spreadsheet tabs and older CRMs. I wrote it all out and was able to delegate more easily when I did leave. I was also able to send out automatic emails. That brings me to this next point, which is during my last pregnancy, with my youngest, really dived more into automating and different ways of sending out email sequences, planning it all out way better and scheduling things way ahead of time and all of that. So certainly was a very good practice to do. And I almost think I want to do that every year. Just pretend I'll be gone for 2 months during a certain time of the year and say, okay, how would I write it all out? What would have to happen? And help me systematize on that better, bigger level on a very regular basis. I've always done that before at New Year's. I have been looking at personal development since I was 14, something like that. It was a very early interest of mine. Uh, When I was 18 or 20, I went to a retreat, an executive retreat, and we did all these different playbooks and wrote things out in all these different categories of our life. I've been doing it for over 20 years, looking at personal development and working on myself. But even this was a extra catalyst for me and really made it real, a tangible idea in my head that what if this were to happen? It was like, this is happening. It was a different kind of energy. It was very diligent. It was very productive. And I did learn a lot through that energy and that process. And part of that was giving resources to my trainees and saying, okay, if I'm not here, these are your resources to go to. And I would give them kind of a sequence. Read this, then call this. And if you still have questions, schedule some time with me. Usually how it is, maybe schedule an hour a day with the team, something like that. Picking the right people. I think I'm getting better at picking the right people and understanding humans a lot better and people in psychology, watching these little people grow. I got even better at time management. I had a teacher, Jason Womack, who was a history teacher at my high school. I hated school. I tested out early. I left when I was 16. So I think I was 14 at the time. I started taking his class. I ditched all the time, hung out with the bad kids. And for whatever reason, I just found this class totally fascinating. It was 0 period. He talked about to-do lists and basic time management and basic financial management information in these classes. So I would come early to school and take this class. I've been interested for a long time, getting better at saying no. With kids, again, there's only so much time in the day. You can divide it up any which way you want, but at some point, there's only so much mental energy that you can give to each area of your life. I choose 3. I choose my work. I have to have my work. I love my work. I love the challenges that come with working. I cannot imagine a world where I am not working in business in some way and be able to progress in that in some way. Then I've got my family and the gym. And of course, God is in there. He's at the very top. He always is. I don't even really include that in one of my 3 because it's just standard operating procedure to be a good person and live by a basic moral code set forth by God himself. So that's just how I handle that. The decision has been made. When I'm looking at my time and energy, that's where I'm growing. And that's how I look at my day when I'm splitting up my time. Health, family, work. Those are the 3. I've noticed if I add anything else, the other ones suffer. If I take too much out of the health bucket, the work one suffers. If I take too much out of the work bucket, my mental health suffers. If I have too much or too little work, it seems like my mental health suffers in some way. Either I'm depressed because I don't feel like I'm living up to my full potential, or I'm anxious because I have too much on my plate. When I went back and looked at the first video I did on this, I brought up a really good point. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. The soft approach. When I first started out in my first big girl job, I feel like I was very aggressive and I was told I had resting bitch face all the time. I guess I was just very serious about my jobs. Just took it very serious. I enjoyed it. I stayed in it, but I didn't look like I was enjoying it probably. So that was some of the feedback that I got when I did start training people. When I worked at that first brokerage, independent brokerage, we were in this old incubator building in Santa Barbara, and renting these open space cubicles. As I learned more, I went, this is not a good idea to be in open space cubicles talking about health information. As we grew, we moved into great buildings over the years in Carpinteria and Santa Barbara, Fanacapa, and these great locations. It was just so fun to grow with that company. I enjoyed it every step of the way and learned so much. I'm grateful for my time with that company and the people I had the opportunity to work with. I was fortunate to always have bosses that let me do my thing, but also gave me reviews. It was tough and awkward for us because we were so small and everybody was so close and cared so much about each other. But we did the reviews anyway. Some companies miss out on that, but we did it and we went through those awkward moments, and I wanted the reviews. I wanted the feedback, and I appreciated every single update I got. The bosses that I had were always very encouraging and nurturing, and always started with what I did right, then talked about what I could improve upon. Looking back, I was really lucky to have these people in my life to believe in me and take me under their wing, because I do see other people not be treated correctly in a corporate work environment and have no idea what that feels like. It is the best feeling in the entire world when you end up with a company that cares about their employees and truly wants you to get better at what you're trying to do and supports you in that way and will invest in you, will pay for you to get education. I remember the day that my boss came in and said, hey, we want to know what you think about what you would need to be more productive. And I said, let me think about it. I'll get back to you. I thought about it and I went back and I said, my research tells me that getting 2 monitors instead of 1 will increase my productivity by 50%. And I think that if you want to try it on me first and I get good results, we can add it for everybody. If I had a laptop, I'm on the road a lot. I was going out seeing clients all the time. And they said, okay. And that might sound crazy now, but at the time it wasn't something that was always done. And now it's standard operating procedure. Everybody gets a damn laptop. If you're a seasoned business person in operations and you're willing to come to the 20-year-old and ask them what they need to be more productive, that just tells you what kind of boss you have. I get emotional thinking about it because I feel so fortunate and so lucky to have had these great mentors teach me what they've taught me over the years. Think about people that never get the opportunity to work for a company like that, or maybe they go into a business and they have a bad boss and they think for the rest of their life that corporate America isn't for them or starting a business isn't for them. It can spoil the stew, if you will. That makes me sad when I think about that. I think I said all these things, picking the right people, looking ahead, getting better at time management, getting better at asking for help, soft and approachable, but with boundaries and clear expectations. When I first started out, I think it was hard. I was told I had resting bitch face and that I needed to learn. And then that's when I went down the path of going, okay, I've heard this before. This must be me. I need to practice smiling. And I started wanting to get into sales. And I would read and listen to people that had been in sales, and they would give tips about how to be more charismatic, and you need to smile and nod, active listening. I even went to school. I thought I was going to be a counselor, so I took some counseling classes. It's like reflective listening. You do that as a counselor as well. That's what they train you to do. Sales is very similar, especially in the type of business that we are in and the type of companies that I grew up in. You do consultative style selling. We're not hard selling a pair of shoes, trying to get somebody to spend $50. We are building trust, rapport, and being trusted advisors with our clients. And there is a process for that. There are a series of questions that need to be asked of clients and prospects to see if they're a good fit for our agency. Because if we can't work well together, then there's really no point in pursuing the partnership. And I don't work great with everybody. I've certainly had situations where I'm not the right fit, and that's fine. But I've had to learn the soft approach when I started having trainees and people that I would train in these businesses. I learned how to smile more, be more approachable, ask people if they needed help. I did get very frustrated. I remember thinking nobody wants to pick up the phone anymore. No, you encounter all of these fears, and it really has nothing to do with the generation today. I'm not here to debate and talk about. We can probably all agree that people nowadays, especially after COVID, are out of practice of interacting with other people in society. And I believe that society has become a little bit more socially awkward for multiple reasons. But all that aside, to be more approachable, you need to smile more and learn how to engage in people. And also, I think at the root of it, understand that it takes time to learn and everybody is a little different. So for me, I had to use the resources given to me by this small agency because the CEO and the COO didn't have time to train me on insurance. I promised them that I would learn insurance inside and out to the best of my ability. And so I would feel bad about taking their time because I knew that they were working on getting new business, building this and that, operations, hiring people, and paying the bills and paying the rent and doing payroll and all these things that I could clearly hear on the other side of this open cubicle that we started in. And so I would call the insurance companies directly and I'd have their reps come out and teach me. We had a little access to a conference room and I'd have them do lunch and learns. Hey, I get lunch and I get to learn about disability insurance and this is great. And how this insurance company works and that insurance company works. So I found that I had a skill in maximizing my resources. And that is not necessarily a skill that every single person has coming in the door when they're hired in a new place. They need to be told what the culture is and how we do things, see the step-by-steps, be walked through exactly how to fill it out in the system and why we save things in certain files. And then when you tell them, you have to tell them again, and you give them tasks and you help them complete it over and over again until they do it right. And then you try to have them do it on their own. They may get stuck in the middle and call you and you're available and happy to answer their questions. My point is there are reps involved. People have to do things over and over again. I come from a lifting background, so I understand getting reps in and practicing a specific chain of mechanical events happening in your body to make this certain muscle grow this way or that way, or get this stretch or contract in this new way, a different way, mind muscle control and things like that, which I didn't always have mind muscle control. I remember starting out and being like, I couldn't be like, oh, squeeze your tricep. Well, now I can be thinking, oh, squeeze your tricep, squeeze this or that. I didn't always have that. And I learned it by doing reps over and over every single day for 10 years, practicing it, learning different ways, listening to seminars on it and obsessing on it. My point is that it takes time. It also comes down to repetition and being able to put someone in a position where they can do something over and over again and maybe even benefit you in the meantime. For example, if you have a subset of work that needs to be completed, you would want to give that person 10 or 20 or 30 tasks of a similar variety all in a row and have them do that over and over again until they get good at it. And they can start doing it independently and also then show you their work after and be like, yes, you did this right. Or next time I tweak this a little bit and this and that. Or do you have any suggestions? Do you have an efficiency idea? We'll talk about that. Or maybe do it later. Look about changing it next year. We have those conversations and then move to the next type of task. Like once that person has that thing, I'm a big proponent of snowballing skills and building upon them and saying, okay, if we start with this skill, we'll help with this next level. And they all integrate and connect. But maybe the next time they'll only have to do it 12 times to learn this next set. because they already have this base knowledge, which the base knowledge is usually really boring, right? It's like entering this into this specific system and then making sure it matches this other specific system and then making sure that goes over to this, making sure that they know where all the things need to go, all the housekeeping items, and practicing that over and over again, because those are the things that they're going to be doing every day. And the more those tasks can be subconscious and second nature, the faster they're going to be at all the other things. And I found that people hate doing it. They totally hate it. And I let them know that, yes, I know this is boring. This is not fun. It's not super intellectual yet, but we are getting there. And you go through that process and build from there. And also that somebody has to be willing to learn. That's the other thing where, as I've trained people, I've seen walls hit. Okay, that's where they're going to stay. They're going to stay in this department. They want to do this thing, and they're afraid to go to this other area that we are looking for someone in, or we thought that they might be good in eventually. They're not willing. And I could spend every day with them for a century and they still wouldn't do it. You can't force people to do anything. You can't force people to learn. That happens. And I've certainly learned that with children. You have to wait until they're ready. And of course, you can incentivize them with positive reinforcement. Like with my daughter, I incentivize her with computer time. She gets a certain amount on the computer if she completes a certain amount of math work. That's the thing that we're working on right now. She's learning times tables and division, which takes practice every day. And so that's my way of rewarding her for practicing it. And similar with anybody. Everybody needs to be rewarded. At the very least, say thank you and say good job. If you're training someone, you have no idea how far, like giving someone flowers, even in a quick email, after your phone call, when you guys are getting ready to hang up with one another, after a training session, be like, dude, I noticed you did this so much faster than you did last week. Or I noticed that, wow, it's really clicking for you, huh? Even if it's not a monetary reward, of course it can be, and that works too. Or take them out to lunch or something nice, but it can also just be words of affirmation. A lot of people do really well with that, and positive feedback from a boss, it can go a long way. Who wants a job that isn't challenging? So that's when I was thinking through this and saying, if you are a better teacher and you understand that someone is willing to learn and they're in it with you, they understand it's going to take reps and they're doing the work and they're getting better, and then you're ready to present the next thing, they will likely be resistant because it's new. They just got done learning this other thing and now they're scared again. Most people are scared in the beginning, and the sooner we can break through that and just start taking action, the better. But at some point, they may be unwilling to continue. And you also have to have those conversations. Say, okay, is this as far as you want to go in this? I'll leave you alone and let you keep over here, but we're going to have to move forward with this other thing, this other direction, because we need somebody over here, or whatever that conversation needs to be. For me, that's because I've always wanted to work in a company that is always teaching. It's always a teaching environment. There's always a place to grow into. And I feel as though that is an important thing to have in a company and in an organization. I can't do it any other way. And I don't understand when people don't want to learn and don't want to solve problems. I understand that it's scary and that there's time to allow some grace for that, because I know that I have taken longer with some things. It might even be stupid. I'm like, I don't know why I'm scared of this stupid thing. It might be something really big that doesn't take me long to get over and I can just start doing it. Everyone's a little different there. I think it's valuable to find people that are willing to learn and want to continue to learn and solve problems. Being a mom, you get to watch other people learn to walk, learn to speak, learn how to play with others, learn how to use a cup, and learn how to dress themselves, etc. It's just astonishing being a mom, and you're sitting there and you're going, like, I get to see the learning process. I get to see how, and me being a fitness nerd and workout nerd, I'm interested in the physical sciences and things like that. watching them go from tummy time and growing those muscles, like the swimmers. If you nerd out on PT, babies go through similar movements that a lot of these PT professionals suggest for people for fixing their back, their hips, their shoulders. There's a lot of movements babies do. So I would do it. Well, I'm recovering too from postpartum. I'm going to do my bracing in the floor and all these different things. And then watching the progress to crawling and progress to standing up, stepping and walking. And my daughter's learning to tie her shoe. And that's interesting and takes reps over and over again. My daughter will get very discouraged if she doesn't learn something quickly. I have to encourage her and let her know that she's not expected to be perfect right out of the gate. She's supposed to have time to mess up when she's learning, and really trying to reinforce that with her right now and get better at catching those moments that she's feeling discouraged or not doing something because she's upset with herself for not doing it perfectly the first time she tries it. Interesting to see how kids interpret things and know that many adults still hang on to those similar interpretations and thought patterns. That's what I have for you today. Hopefully you found that useful. If you have any suggestions or input on this video, I'd love to hear about it. Make a comment below. Please hit the like button and subscribe. Thank you for hanging out until the end. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.